Vicki Goetze-Ackerman. She's the current LPGA, Ladies Professional Golf Association, player president. I have the great pleasure of knowing Vicki. She actually has been instructing me. She's given me many lessons, and I'm most certainly her most difficult student. I'm kidding, but she's just incredible background. She holds the current record. She was the y- amateur in collegiate and the U.S. amateur at the same time. Nobody has still doesn't have that record. She, by the way, she beat somebody that you may have heard of in that second amateur named Annika Sorenstam. But great accolades, great amateur. She turned pro in the early 90s. And the road to get there, very, very difficult. We talk a lot about just the state of golf, specifically the LPGA and the role of the new commissioner and what they're doing to try to help, um, you know, make golf better for the next generations. The generation currently of golfers. She goes on, the really talented, great ball strikers. I have a great passion for golf, as you know. Really enjoyed this conversation with Vicki. Um, what keeps her up at night? Being the player president. I wonder if you can guess as to what that is. But great conversation with her. You're really going to like her. She's a great instructor. She's a great ambassador for golf. Wants to promote it. Great discipline. It's interesting her perspective and her take on discipline as well. You're really going to enjoy this. Thanks for listening. Hi, I'm Joey Pinz. People ask me, how did I lose 130 pounds? The quick answer is always discipline. I started my business, wasn't paying attention to my health, was eating too much, drinking too much sweets. My daughter was born. Next thing I know, I'm pre-diabetic, I have hypertension. I knew something had to change. Discipline. I, like many of you, have faced many challenges in your career, in your family, in your life, in your faith. How did you attack them? How did you approach them? How did you solve them, hopefully? It all had to have some degree of discipline. I'm also asked, how did you found and start a tech business that lasted over 25 years? Discipline. I was committed to it, enjoyed technology, didn't enjoy some aspects of it, but knew it was necessary. Discipline. Our podcast mission: how do we use discipline to better ourselves and society? Join me, please, as I talk to interesting people and discuss how they use discipline in their family, in their passion, in their careers, and how it helped them. Our podcast vision: growth through learning from others. Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations. It'll be light and serious. Join us, please. Thank you for consideration. Vicki Goetze-Ackerman, thank you so much for doing this. So, how is the state of women's golf right now?
I think it's great. I mean, we're really growing. There's more women and girls getting into the game of golf. I mean, I actually think COVID, despite being horrific in so many ways, have really brought a lot of people to the game. A lot more families are playing. We're having more hours on TV. The level of golf is amazing.
Really?
We keep talking about, are we playing the golf courses too long relative to what the men are hitting in club wise, but yet we're still shooting 20 something under. So we're kind of like, well, hey, we
Wow.
really can't put it farther back, or put it farther forward, I should say. So I think we're in a really, really good place, and excited about the next few years for sure.
And how about the LPGA specifically?
I mean, that's really, the LPGA is doing great. I mean, we play in so many different countries. It's a global tour. We're able to reach a lot of different people. We have members from all over the world, which is great. And I think because of that, we have so many countries that want to televise our event because they want to showcase their talent. And you look at the impact that Surrey Pack had on Korea. mean, that's happening all over the country, or all over the world, I should say. So it's pretty amazing, and they're really good. I'm glad that I'm not playing anymore.
It is fascinating to think how the three pack just really, really kind of, is the godmother of Korean golf. I mean, she really started a whole kind of generation there, didn't she?
She did, and I think, back when she started, most Korean or Asian players went to play the JLPJ. It was closer,
Mm,
they were able to go home easier, and then she was the person that kinda took that leap, and it's gotta be scary for these young ladies, going to foreign countries, maybe not knowing the language, having to learn it to be able to function, eating different foods, but now it's the thing, you wanna
mm.
be number 1, you wanna be the best, you're going to come to the LPGA. And the great thing about it is, you aren't stuck in just one area of the world. We are traveling everywhere, which is hard. It's a hard life. It's hard on your body being on the planes as much as we are now, but it does enable people to travel the world and see some different places and travel home if your home country is not the United States.
Mhm. And the last we talked, a couple months now, you were going to Thailand. I haven't talked to you since you came back. How was that trip?
It was fantastic. I was in Singapore and Thailand. It was so great, beautiful. I mean, both countries are amazing countries. Thailand was a little smoking hot, but listen, I'm in Tampa, Florida now,
That's right.
with Buckhorn in my background, and it was probably 100 today here too. So,
Wow.
kind of used to the weather, but it's always fun. I feel so blessed to have traveled to the places that I've traveled through the LPGA and my golf career, and now through being the player president. I can't imagine what would bring me to Thailand, unless it were work, and so it's pretty cool.
Now, is the LPGA and the PGA the same entity?
No, we are separate entities, but we do work together, and we are trying to collaborate on a lot of different things. Love to have some more co-sanctioned events with the PGA Tour. A lot of our players know the men quite well. They're members at the same golf courses, but
Mm,
our tour is member owned, which is different than the PGA Tour. So we are member owned. We have majority vote. I know our commissioner, she makes decisions, and she's in front of the spotlight and answering all the questions, but we do have majority vote on everything.
let's talk about that. When you say it's member owned, so they get to decide where they play, not purses and things like that, correct?
Well, at the end of the day, we have to watch out for antitrust laws, to be honest with you. So,
Ah,
back when we started, yes, members did everything. I mean, they picked where they played. They actually even put the ropes up. I mean, they did it just like the
wow.
men. I mean, they kind of started things out, but they did everything. They sent the communications out, the press releases, did the tea times. And obviously now we've evolved, okay? And we have a staff, still quite small relative to the PGA Tour, but
Mm,
we have a staff that does those things. And we have an LPGA player board, and it consists of the player president as well as 6 active players. And we work together with the independent board and our ELT, which is our executive team on the LPGA, on helping guide and make decisions. But our players can't say yes or no, we're not going to play there. It's more of we go to players to get a vibe and a sense of what they want, because our goal as an organization is to serve the members
hmm,
and to help them excel and to help the next generations excel. So, we don't do things on or we try to not to do things that are, against the majority. I mean, does everybody agree with everything that happens on tour or anything in life? No, but we
hmm,
really want to do the best that we can for the membership, and to keep the tour in a healthy state and grow it, because I mean, for myself personally, I joined the tour in 1994, which was just yesterday. So
sure.
huge passion for keeping it, and I've seen how much it's grown, and I mean, we all want it to be even bigger and better for the next young ladies that are coming up. So
Hmm.
that's our ultimately our goal.
And has the Live Tour, everybody's talking about it, but lots of controversy there. Has that extended to the women at all?
It has not for the LPGA. It has not.
And as the player president, like what are some of the, kind of contentious issues that happens? And certainly not everybody agrees, like you said, but what are some of the big issues that you have to tackle and there's controversy over?
I would say right now, things are quite calm.
Good.
We'll have like maybe a little regulation issues, or
Hmm.
people cutting in front of people making the turn or things like that. But
Uh,
I think we've gone through the transition of a new commissioner, and we had Mike Wan, which was amazing, a great guy. I mean, really transformed. We were in not a good state when he came in 2010, and I knew the day was going to come that he was going to leave, but with us, coming, I don't even want to say out of COVID, because COVID still quite exists, but
right.
we were so distracted and just trying to, like the rest of the world, stay alive. How can we function? How can we keep our sponsors? How can we keep our membership able to play, and how do we travel in the state that we never even thought that you know he might be leaving, and then next thing you know, he is.
Wow.
And thank God he went to a great organization, the USGA, obviously still able to help us and others in the golf world. So I would really say that in the last year, our most focus was on getting our new commissioner, and then from there, just trying to work that pathway, because you with a new commissioner, she's trying to get her grounding and feet wet, and has new ideas, and as great as Mike was, obviously you want to keep growing and keep transforming, and I think
Hmm.
Mike knew that it was time. And he had some other things that he was kind of wanting and itching to do, and so now we're working our way through what Molly is going to bring to the table, and some different new ideas. And so it's a process that we're all kind of going through right now. So I would say, because of that, um, that's our focus. We're all driving together in the common good to see the next thing on our plate, so to speak.
Hmm. What is the process of hiring and selecting a commissioner?
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Really?
So I was on that committee, and well, I mean, well, we hired a search firm, and they helped us through it, but a lot of interviews, a lot of what are we looking for. It was really great, because I think going through it, we kind of found out a lot about ourselves too,
Hmm.
and really some maybe gaps and things that we needed to prove on as an organization. I mean, I think sometimes you do these things and you keep going through, and you know you don't take a step back, because we, like, again, it was COVID. We were trying to survive, and through that process, we were able to really analyze what we need and want in an organization. Obviously, money helps us do that.
Hmm.
So then trying to figure out how to get that money, but it was quite a few interviews. Met with a few different people, and there was I think 6 or 7 of us on this search committee after everything was said and done. So the process took us about 8 months.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what are the qualifications sought after? Do they have to have golf experience? Do they have to have leadership experience? Do they have
Y-
business experience? Like,
You know, well, we felt like, I mean, golf would have been being in the golf world was obviously something that would be advantageous, but we picked Molly, and she was an avid golfer,
hmm,
okay, but she was not in the golf world. She was the athletic director for Princeton University. So we actually took her skill set and watched how she worked with the companies that she went up the ladder with, and
hmm,
really just liked how her business style, communication style, and being athletic director, she obviously worked with a lot of different entities, in particular her staff as well as her athletes, and really that's what the LPGA is about. And I mean, for me personally, meeting her, I got a huge sense of trust, and a genuine individual that I felt cared about us and the job, and
hmm.
she had the skill set to do it, and the mind and determination. So there's a lot of different elements to it, but just looking at her past record is what kind of put her over the edge. And I will tell you, I mean, and I would tell Molly this too. In the original interview, the first interview, I would not have put her forward. That
Really?
wasn't the first. I kind of saw some other people that maybe shined a little bit different, and that's the crazy thing about interviews. You do them, and It's a question of whether did we ask the right questions? Did she, was the lighting right? Was the out, you know what I'm trying to say? You just
Mm,
come out, and there was a few others in the group that really wanted to push her forward. And after the second interview, I'm like, holy cow, thank goodness they saw that,
wow.
because it was really really amazing, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working with her, and I believe the players have a lot of trust and faith in her. I mean,
Hmm.
we have a lot of things. Obviously, you look ahead and what we're trying to do, and grow our game, and grow like our purse sizes, and you know, there's a lot for us to still do, but we believe we have the right person in the seat to do that for us.
I've known some athletic directors, and there's a certain element of kind of politics are involved with that position. I wonder if, what happens. Does that translate over? Is there, I mean, you're dealing with sponsors, you're dealing with players, you're dealing with, you know, uh, club owners, you're dealing with, there's, the skill set there has got to be pretty impressive to manage all that.
Well, you definitely have to have a great skill set of communication and understand how to um, work a room and talk to the room and
Mm,
understand what the people in the room want. I think the mistake made by many is not really listening and truly understanding the partnership. And for us, in every relationship that we go in, it's a partnership. We don't, obviously we have goals and we have things that we want to strive for, but we're working with our sponsors because they have goals and things that they want to. I mean, at the end of the day, if we work as a team, we'll be a better unit.
mm,
Much better than us saying, we want this, 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 and this. I mean, that doesn't really go over too well. And we tried that in the past, and that really backfired for us. And ultimately, we almost, lost the tour. We lost a lot of events. We went down to, I believe it was like almost 20 events back in
wow.
2009. And so, it was a hard lesson. And Mike came in and really talked about, knowing who writes the checks, because you got to know who that person is, and what that tournament. Usually, there's a community element. There's something. There's a reason why they're doing it, and understanding that. And they give us the opportunity to do what we love. I mean, we're so blessed to hit a golf ball around the course. Some days it may not feel like we're blessed with
Right.
how we're hitting it. Let me tell you, but it's pretty cool, and met some great people through it. So yes, I think that she has that skill set, and is doing fantastic, managing those relationships.
And does she have a certain term? Does she renew? What is that process like?
So each commissioner, just like a staff, has contracts,
I see.
and she signs a certain contract. But as I always found in this whole business, what does a contract mean?
Mm,
Not a lot. I mean, like, at the end of the day, if a person wants out, they can get out.
right.
If we want them out, we can get them out. So,
Yeah.
um, you know, the time frame that Molly is going to stay with us, we hope, is a really really long time. We hope that we continue to enjoy each other and work together so great, that this continues on for a long time. I think having someone, I mean, we went through a time period where we were kind of going in and out of commissioners, in 3 to 5 years. And Mike was the first person that, was there, I believe, 10, which
Wow.
was great. And it's fantastic. It gives you some continuity to things. You develop the relationships. I mean, I truly believe that because he had those relationships going into COVID, he was able to navigate the tough situations and
Wow.
really compromise with our sponsors, who could have easily bailed with everything that's going on, but we came up with something, and it was because of those relationships, and Molly is creating those as well. And so we hope to have her a long time. I mean, obviously, there's going to be constant negotiations of contracts with her, contract. But I mean, right now that's not our concern. She, we're driving ahead, not looking at her possibly leaving.
Now I have a great love of golf, and this, a passion, and I also run a tech business. So I don't understand quite the business of golf. So is she the CEO that has vision and leadership, and then there's a president that kind of carries out the day to day, and there's stated goals quarterly and annually. Is it that kind of setup?
It's really, I'm gonna be honest with you, it's a little confusing, meaning that how things function isn't necessarily how it's on paper, meaning that the players are at the top. Okay,
Hmm.
so ultimately it's a member-owned organization, so the players are at the top, and the commissioner is below them. Saying that, we
Hmm.
hire the commissioner, who then makes the decisions and filters it down. Okay, to activation. So I would say it's players. We have the player board, the independent board, and then it goes to commissioner. But
Hmm.
it may not look that way, because if you ask a question, have an interview or something about the LPGA, and the person who's going to stand up there is our commissioner, it's not going to be the players. They're playing golf. Now, saying
Right.
that, they get involved when we need them to get involved, and the player board is involved actively on a lot of different issues. But it gives a vision or look that it's completely run by the commissioner, but the players ultimately are over the commissioner, and she is to serve the players.
Are the players employees?
The players are members, okay,
Mm.
but it's a member-owned organization.
Hmm.
I know, it's really kind of fascinating, isn't
So
it?
they
It's
own
very different.
do they own stock?
No, there wouldn't be any stock to have anyways.
I say. So they don't have
Most
voting rights?
they have total voting rights, okay?
I
They
say.
have complete voting rights, and that's why they have it, but there's no money for them to have except for what they
Right.
win. So from a voting standpoint, that's why the members have majority, and that's how they are, I guess, at the top of the box, so to speak. But I
Hmm.
mean, it's not like there's when I think of stocks, I think of money.
Right.
And there's none of that. We do have a retirement fund. Um, I wouldn't say it's great. You better not count on that to make it as a player. So we kind of joke about it because it's not where it should be, but it is improving. It's getting better, but it's a process. Listen, I mean, we love everything to jump up to the same numbers that the PGA Tour has, and or even 75% of that. But
Hmm.
it's a process, and there's things that we need to do. We need to keep continuing to grow our fan base, continue to grow that TV ratings, have more consistency with where we are on TV, what time we're on, and it's a fight to get that, because I mean, as you know, there's so many things that are on
Yeah.
TV, and it's like who gets that spot, so to speak.
Right.
So we're working at it, and we'll continue to grow and work at it.
Do some players have more say than others? For example, Nelly Corda's number 2, I believe right now. Does she have is it all equal? Does everybody have the same say?
In theory, it's all equal. Yes, I mean, our job is to grow the tour and to make the
Mm.
tour strong. It is not to pick out one section of people and make them better or worse, so to speak. I mean, it's
Hmm.
it's about opportunity. Now, saying that, is a person who is more actively playing and out there in the trenches, living it, is their voice maybe little bit stronger because they're living it currently? Yes. If you're not playing, it's hard to necessarily see what's going on out there. But I would say that we want to listen to everyone, all of our members, because they're all important and they all have different roles.
Hmm.
And they all have different. I mean, they all have the ultimate goal of winning too. And someone who may be 100th on the money list could win the next week. I mean, the depth is so great. So, you don't want one person to have more authority, so to speak, than someone else.
Hmm. That's why golf is the fairest sport, because you only make money if you win, that's what I
Yeah.
love most about it. So, player president, so do you represent the players when talking to the commissioner?
Yes, my job is to represent the players, and I think when I first came into the role, it was really quite interesting. I really tried to make sure that I kept my opinion out, because my job was to represent
Hmm.
the players. And as I've grown in the position, as I'm talking with the players, I have shared more of my opinions and thoughts, and really asked them questions to think about. But at the end of the day, it is what the players want. And there are some times that, we may hypothetically want something slightly different, but there's a reason why we need to go this way. And my job is to explain that. so that we can get to ultimately where we want. So it's an interesting, I feel so lucky to do what I do because I'm still able to be a part of the organization that gave me opportunity and provided me the platform to teach and to travel the world and play golf. And when this position opened up, I was lucky I got it.
So the players, I'm sure some are more, boisterous than others. And
For
do you
sure.
have just like any place? Do you have weekly kind of open forums with them? How do you contact? Do you meet and discuss? Do you go to the tournaments and just have a round table with them? How do they convey their opinion to you?
There's a lot of different ways that we do it. We do have player meetings. We constantly are sending out weekly reminders. I think it's very important for me to get to golf tournaments because,
Mm,
kind of when I'm out of sight, out of mind kind of thing when I'm not there, but I could be walking by the putting green. It's like, hey, Vic, come over here. Whereas obviously in technology today, an email or text could have been sent, but, they just didn't think about it till they saw me or they thought that they'd send it later and they didn't. So me going to tournaments is a really big deal. We've tried so many different things. Sometimes I've set up times in the locker room that I'm going to be there and you can come and talk to me.
mm,
We've had virtual meetings. We've had open forums on different discussions. Molly now is having dinners with players. I've done that too,
good
where I've
idea.
set aside and tried to arrange dinners. You know, we're constantly trying to make sure that we have the pulse because even with the player board, there's only 6 active players on it. And yes, they're actively playing, but over the time and watching the player director board, the difference of opinions from board to board is just amazing. And so
Really?
we constantly have to make sure that we're reaching out and we ask the player directors, okay, we know how you feel. Make sure that your fellow players are thinking the same thing and they have a pretty good pulse on things, but we're all and we do surveys, we do a lot of different things. Sometimes maybe we could do more, I mean, because he sometimes you have to make a decision pretty quick on certain things, but I think we have an overall very good sense of where people are on things, and then we just have to activate correctly on those things.
So in regards to the players on the LPGA tour, what keeps you up at night, Vicky?
Oh my gosh, it really depends. One year was dress code.
Really?
Well, it's funny. We decided to change our dress code, and evidently that didn't go over well with the population of people. I got
Hmm.
some very, very nasty social media things sent to me.
Whoa.
And that was the first time I've ever. I'm not a big social media person, but I've never had the things said to me that were said in
Oh
social
no.
media, and I had to shut that down. But I think if I go over my time as player president, I think the thing that kept me up was when COVID came. That was the
Mm,
thing that really, I was really scared for our membership because they rely on playing. They rely on making money that way. And not only were they not able to play, but then the sponsors who did have sponsors, which is not very many, their money was going to be cut back because they weren't
mm.
teeing it up. And I just really was worried for a majority of our membership to be able to withstand that time of no income. Um, I mean, listen, we were obviously not the only ones struggling, so it's not a woe is me for the LPGA tour,
Mm.
but my job and the rest of the team was to provide some opportunities and get them back out playing and do it in a safe environment and quite honestly, I think give hope that we could continue moving on the world in functioning at whatever pace everybody felt comfortable for. So that was probably my biggest thing that I've lost sleep over. And then the next things would be when obviously when I first came on, constantly, waiting to see if we'd sign the deals and keeping our
Mm.
sponsors, and it just seemed like there was so much turnover in our contracts being up, anywhere from 10 to 15, which I guess is not uncommon, except that we really hadn't established the relationships like we have at this point.
Hmm.
And so we were coming back from being down and losing all those events. And so, you want to make sure that you look like the viable um, company to do business with and to partner with. And so we were still trying to establish that again. And so early on, that really made me nervous because again, we don't function without those partnerships, and that's how our membership makes their money, and that's how they play, and that's really how everyone keeps their job. I mean, a lot of the money that we make, we put back into tournaments and into what our members need, whether it's fitness trailer, having physios out there, all different things. So
Hmm.
those are the things that I guess I have lost some sleep over. The rest of the things, I mean, there's bumps in the road. There's things that people get mad about. There's things that we need to iron out the wrinkles, so to speak. But um, especially now at this point in my life, those don't seem as big. I need to figure them out. I need to fix it so everybody's happy and in a good work environment. But you know, providing opportunities for our members and continuing the growth of our LPGA tour is my biggest thing that I lose sleep over at times.
Hmm. Has name, image, and likeness affected the LPGA tour at all?
You know what? I mean, everything affects,
Mm,
but I mean, in a bad way, no.
right.
I mean, it's worked
Really.
out really well. It's really just more an education process of things, and um, so no, not in a negative standpoint.
And the LPGA tour uses the USGA rules like the PGA, correct?
It does. We do have the ability for some local rules. Like we allow rangefinders, and
Ah,
that actually the U.S. Open allows that too. Now I'm trying to give
yeah.
you an example of
So is the
something, but
PGA. Yeah.
yeah. But ultimately, the PGA and the LPGA and the RNA, we obviously want to abide by the governing body of rules, which I guess is the RNA and the USGA, because there has to be someone that leads that, and they do come to us and ask us questions. Again, are they going to do kind of what they feel is in the best interest of the game of golf? Absolutely, but they're not going into it completely blind, and they're not asking us and the PGA Tour and its members of both sides what we think. At the end of the day, they may net out somewhere where people don't agree, um, but they are a great organization. They think a lot about what they're doing, and I think it's in the best interest to abide by their rules. And I think the only rule that we're in, it is actually a local rule for them, is that we have continued to allow greens books this
Ah.
year. But at the U.S. Open, at the KPMG LPGA Championship, that will be no greens books. The British Open will be no greens books. So we're kind of teetering on whether we should or shouldn't allow that. There's a lot of little sidebars to that rule that kind of put us a little bit concerned with what players and caddies had done before they even had greens books, and we're like, wow, why would we want to take that away? I mean, they
Mm.
did this before, so we haven't gone there quite yet, but possibly after seeing how this year has gone, we may transpire and make that change.
So for anybody listening, a greens book gives you the undulation and the curves of the green, so you can, better determine where to make your putts. Um, do you like that idea of taking it away?
Listen, I don't even know how to read a Greens book because I'm old school. I mean, I just felt it. I saw it with my
Really?
eyes.
Hmm.
I'm not I'm not for or against it. I
Hmm.
mean, I think that the whole process has gone a long ways already. I mean, people have spent a lot of money to get the equipment and to do this job. And, it's almost like a little bit of shame that someone didn't think that this was not a good idea before it started. But here we are.
Hmm.
And I have not a lot of members that use it. Um, I do think that there is a tad of a gift of being able to read a green, but I think it's a gift to be able to read that daggone book too.
Mhm.
So we'll go with what the membership wants. This is not something that we, as an organization, would say, "Hey, we're not going to do this." I mean, that's their choice. And at the end of the day, if they choose to go with no greens books, then by golly, we won't do it. If they choose to keep it, we'll keep it. I mean, that's not what we're going to fall on the sword for. It's their choice on that one.
When I first joined Buckhorn, I got one and I started using it, and then started using it less and less and less, and then I just stopped putting it in my back pocket. You kind of start to rely on it, and you're not trusting your eyes anymore, and yeah, it's very. I'm not quite sure how I feel about it as well. What should be the next big rule change for the USGA?
Ooh.
If you could change anything right now, Vicky, what would it be?
I'm going to be a little vague on this, but I think we all know that distance is a factor, and, and
Mm.
and we're outgrowing golf courses, and I really think they've got to come up with some way to control that. I don't.
Hmm.
I mean, I'd probably. I don't know if this is really a rule, but I guess I would really think about the ball.
The
It
ball,
seems
the
to be
equipment.
the cheapest way to bring back some distance. I mean, there's some great golf courses that the men can't play. They've outgrown, and it's really a
Right.
shame. There's so much history there, and there's just great layouts. And it's like, gosh, you know, how can we get back there? For us,
Hmm.
we haven't outgrown courses. We play the tips. I mean, as the ladies, we play, usually anywhere from, I would say, 64 to 6,800 yards. So most golf courses can accommodate us.
Sure.
So that hasn't been an issue. But at the end of the day, I mean, it has been for the men. So I would probably look at that. I'm not sure that that was really what you were looking for as a rules change. Other than that, listen, I'm still trying to figure out, remember myself, how to drop the ball. I mean, I'm old school. I mean, it was bad
I
enough we
do it
went from
too.
here to here,
Right
and
to
now
your
I got to go to
elbow.
my
Yeah,
knee. I mean,
to your knee.
and on
Yeah.
my back's bad. I mean, like, come on. I mean, so just trying to keep up with the times.
I have to remind people of that too, as well as myself. I would like to see if it's in your own fairway and you end up in a divot to be able to move out of it.
Mm. Yeah, I get that. I mean, I think the thing about that, for me, I didn't grow up on pristine golf courses, and
Mm.
I grew up in a time period that a lot of people didn't have sprinklers everywhere. I mean,
Hmm.
so the golf courses itself weren't in that great a shape. Okay,
Right.
they were okay, but they weren't great. And then as I got older, and obviously my game got a little bit more established, I had the opportunity to play in some really great places, and it's like I don't want to say became spoiled, but I became really spoiled. I mean, like even Buckhorn, I'm like, oh my
Mm.
gosh! I mean, we have the best screens in the area, and and I go somewhere else, I'm like, oh wow, that's a little bit slower, so I don't know, I mean, it's really rub of the green. It's super bad, but I mean, I guess I'm just used to it. I don't like it, but I'm used to it, so I'm okay. I really would like everybody to rake the bunker though, and I'd really
Mm.
like everybody to fix their ball marks. That
Right.
if I had to pick something that I think there's two things that I think the golf world and the amateur and the public are forgetting is one, pace of play. And if you're slowing everybody up, let them go through.
Mm.
I'm like, what
Mm.
happened to letting people go through? Like, no
Mm.
one does it anymore. And then two, fix your ball marks.
Mm.
Because if you want a good golf course and you want to come back there, you need to fix your pitch mark, tap it down, and that's going to save it. When people don't do it, it destroys the greens.
Absolutely.
So those are my. I don't know if they're more pet peeves, I would say, than anything, but I wish we'd see more of.
I've had the great pleasure of, receiving lessons from you and talking with you before, and I know you're very humble. But for anybody, listening, uh, you know, 88 through 90 American Junior Golf, so you were the Player of the Year in '89. The third youngest to win the Women's Amateur Open, and then oh my goodness, in '89 and '92, you were well, like I said, you also won the Open again against some unknown that we'd never heard of, Miss Annika Sorenstam, and, I hope she does well wherever she is, but
Yeah.
she's great, and, Curtis Cup, World Cup you were in, you were, if I understand correctly, as I read it, you were amateur and collegiate and at the same time, and uh,
NCAA, yeah,
at the same
champion,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't
Mhm,
think anybody has done that before. My goodness, and it goes on. Golf of the year in 91 and 92, player of the year. Um, you were awarded the Honda, the Broadway Cup in 92. I mean, just then you joined the tour in 93 to 94, correct?
mhm, mhm, yes.
Eh, Talk to me about that shock of being an amateur and achieving so well and then going to the pro
Yeah,
tour.
if I like, I mean, I my amateur career it was great. I mean, I had great opportunities, obviously some success. It was wonderful. I got to play for University of Georgia, which was right in my
Mm,
backyard. I mean, pretty storybook from at least my standpoint.
mm,
Not a lot. I mean, sure there was some ups and downs. I can remember a few bad things that happened, but relatively speaking, I mean, everything went very well for me. When I turned pro, I went through qualifying school. I made it my first try. My aspirations and hopes and what I expected was to come out like gangbusters, and that did not happen. I would
mm,
say if I looked back, I mean, and I have, trust me, and I know the 50 million mistakes that I have made, but probably the biggest mistake that I made, which then was a snowball of everything happening, was I said I was gonna I was asked to do an article about how to hit the ball 10 yards farther. And that made it out like I was trying to hit the ball 10 yards farther.
mm,
And I was not a long hitter, but I was very content with my game and I knew what my strengths were and I knew what I needed to do. And then all of a sudden I played the first tournament on the LPGA and I didn't play well and I went to my golf instructor and he told me that my swing wasn't good enough to play on tour.
right.
And
Maybe
I'm
tell
like,
me this.
"Whoa, wait a second." I'm like, It's not good enough to play on tour. Like, I just got out here."
Right.
And so I'd been with this person a while, and then I was like, how do I even stay with this person? Like, he just basically told me that what he's done for umpteen number of years is not good enough. I mean, it's not like I wasn't winning. It wasn't like I wasn't doing what he was asking. So I I jumped ship because I'm like, why would I change now?
Mm,
Why would you just completely change my swing? And I went on this journey of seeing 50 million golf instructors because none of it worked. And I got to a point that I mean, literally didn't even know how to take the club back. I mean, I remember sitting on the range at the US Open qualifier with my dad there and was hitting it horrific. And he's like, what are you trying to do? And I go, I'm gonna be honest, I don't know how to take the club back.
yeah.
And I remember him saying to me, how do you not know how to take it back? I'm like, well, I can't get it back. I don't know what to do.
Mm,
And I think a lot of amateurs that might be listening to this might relate with what I'm just saying right now. But I just really went through a bad stint of it, and it took until, kid you not, 1999, I finally found another instructor, um, and actually, I think it was 2000. Excuse me, it was 2000, and within 2 months of working with this gentleman, I lost in a playoff on the LPGA, and it just completely changed my career path again to a much more higher trajectory versus the
mm.
low one that it was going in. You know, I look back and I think, my expectations, and I think the expectations of probably anyone who would watch my career was a lot higher. The fact to not win one, I mean, I came close, but to not win an LPGA is you know a little bitter. But I truly believe that everything happens for a reason, and learned a lot about myself, and I do think where I am now in my position with LPGA, and then teaching, and as a parent of a 16-year-old playing golf,
Jake.
probably am better for what
Mm,
happened because
mm.
I truly don't want anyone to make the same mistakes that I made. But and hopefully I can pass on my knowledge to other people.
Yeah, in 2000, the Corning Classic, he had
Yes,
yeah, two-hole sudden death playoff, Betsy King, I
yes.
believe. And So let's talk about that journey of choosing an instructor. So anybody who's listening who wants to get into golf, I encourage it. It's a great sport. Choosing an instructor is really important. And I know we've talked kind of candidly. You don't want to mention any names, why you didn't go with some, and you went with others. But what should people look for?
Well, I think the big thing that people should look for is first of all, they need to understand what they want. Okay. They need to go
Mm,
into the lesson with what are you trying to achieve? And then what are you willing to put into achieving it? Because I think at the end of the day, I look at my students and, some of my students, have the time and desire to put the reps in and to make certain changes
mm,
and some don't. And then I think you got to know what you are willing and able to do, number one. And then I think also doing your research on the instructor of what their philosophy is. Are they a
mm,
methods teacher that's just going to put you in a method? And no matter what shape, size, if you've got a hip replacement, anything, they're going to put you in this mold? Or are
mm.
they going to look at who you are? And look at what you're looking for and take your body and the things that you're doing and just try to make it better and improve it. I think those are the key things to think about before you go in. And then, do you like talking to the person? Do you communicate well? Do they communicate well to you? Because
Mm,
there's obviously different learning styles. I mean, I think really good instructors try to understand what learning style their player is and adapt to them. I mean, I can't go and approach each of my students the same way. I need to understand how they learn. Are they visual? Are they feel? Are they auditory? You gotta come up with that and then make sure that you continue that and really correlate things, make them see other aspects of things that they do in their life translate into their game. It builds confidence and it builds a way of seeing things versus, oh God, you need to be in this position.
mm.
Now, if you have an analytical player, well, now you're going to do a little bit more of that precision and different things because that's really what they want. But you got to make sure you don't take them so far that they don't know how to take the club back. So I think that that's how you kind of need to look at finding a golf instructor. And if you ask the people that have gone to this person, um, I think that that tells a lot. And just because you don't pick somebody doesn't mean that they're a bad golf instructor too. I
Right.
always tell people, and I tell myself too, that um, I as a player went to numerous people, and it does not mean that the people that I went to were bad instructors, and I switched because of that. That
Mm,
there was a reason, and I needed a change, and I'm still great friends with a lot of the instructors that eventually I left, and I think that they're phenomenal instructors. They just weren't right for me.
right.
And so you can't. It's not a personal thing. It's just trying to figure out what's right and go with that.
Yeah, I appreciate just the you mentioned kind of the vernacular and the terms being used. I can remember taking instruction from you, and there's one point where I used the term cover. I've got to cover the
Right.
ball a little bit, and I understand what that means. You do, but somebody may not. Somebody else may
Hmm.
not, and so just understanding the terms and getting a clear definition of what it means makes a big difference. How much of instruction is art versus science,
That's a
in your
tough
opinion?
one. I mean, I think it varies. I mean, I think that you can't put necessarily a ratio on each person being the same. Um, so I don't really know if I could answer it, but I always tell people, I make money giving lessons, but don't take too many.
Mm,
I think that you can become obsessed, and the more you get of information, the more it possibly can clutter the brain. And I think that's another thing that instructors really have to be careful about because we can think that a person has something and we jump to kind of the next thing because we have a vision, like we have a person, we know what they want, and it's usually a process. Or we know that we have the person for one day and we're like, okay, well, they want to achieve this is the best way to achieve it, kind of thing. But especially when I have a junior that comes to me, you're kind of looking at, well, what are they trying to accomplish, where are they trying to go with it, and sometimes where they're trying to go with it is just to have fun and play better golf, and that's
Mm.
totally fine. But there's still a game plan in my head of how they're going to do that appropriately and in the best way. So, um, I guess I would say, if I and now that listen to my talk, and it's a little bit of a science. It's a little bit of a science, really, and but the science is it's gonna be different for each person. Well,
Yeah, I
thanks
know.
for helping me fan that out. Yeah, that was really good, show. Thanks.
I know, people like when I play, if I'm at a particular yardage and you know, 2 plus 2 doesn't always equal 4, right?
Yeah.
I let my gut kind of overrule what the formula place, even this much
Mhm.
wind, the elevated green, downhill lie, what did I hit on the last shot? All these factors, come into play, but I always let it's okay, everything equals 7 here, but I really feel like my 8. I go with my gut.
You have to, and you know what? Every day we don't feel the same way. I mean, like
Mm,
you get out of the bed and you're like, God, what, today I feel a little sluggish, or you get
right.
out of the bed and you're like, wow, I feel like $1 million. I got a great night's rest. So I think that you have to take those elements and add them to each day. I mean, that's why when we go out to the golf course and we play, we're like, wow, this is a whole nother person, good or
Mm,
bad, that just showed up. And it's how do you then adjust for that day and how you feel in the shots that you're hitting. Maybe you talk about someone that's under the gun and playing in a tournament. Well, they're juiced. I mean, they're going to hit the 7 iron farther. Okay, they
mm,
know that. You're gonna switch clubs because you know that, and then another day you're like, God, I had rain delays. I was up all night. We finished at dark. We came back in the morning. I probably don't have quite the energy, quite the stamina that I had the day before. So I think there is that adjustment. I was thinking, as we were talking about this, one of the things that I found and for myself is really important too, is that really understanding on a standard day, okay, standard, you know, level lie, no wind, how
mm,
far is your 7 iron going?
right.
Okay. I think we as players, we think we hit it farther than we do.
Interesting.
Okay. And a lot of times players are not understanding that they may have hit, I'm just going to throw this out, a 7 iron to 150 yards, but it flew 140.
Mm,
And so when they have, a pin and it's 150 over the water or over a bunker and it's only 5 off the front and they don't get it there and it goes in, they're like, why did that happen? Well, it happened because it doesn't fly that far.
right.
And I think, I did something recently that I've told my students to do it. And when I played on tour, it was really super easy for me because I played so much. And every time I would play, I'd hit a shot and I'd mark it. I'm like, okay, that landed 146, release 3. The wind
Mm,
was this, and I mark it in my book. So I knew,
hmm,
like, I knew my numbers, and I actually hit it well enough to know my numbers. And it
uh,
pretty much went there. As I have not played, I took 10 years off. I think I told you that one point, Joe, where I
yeah.
took 10 years off. I left playing golf completely, and I got back into it. The consistency with my strike is just a little bit different,
Hmm,
and I also don't hit it as far as I used to. So I went and got on a TrackMan at just a facility down the road here, and the good news is I'm not delusional, and I knew that my numbers weren't what they were, and I was pretty close on my irons. The bad news is that my woods didn't carry sniffing what I thought they were, which is
hmm,
why I'm always short. And I kept thinking something was wrong. Like, am I not judging the wind? Am I not hitting it? And quite honestly, I just didn't hit it that far.
hmm.
And a little depressing at first, but at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, well, how do you fix this? Okay, well, one, I might change a little bit of my shafts to help with that, but also how I really fix it is understanding if I got this number, this is a club it's going to go, and that's how I play golf. I mean, like sometimes you can gain that yardage, and sometimes you got to live with the number.
That's right.
And the only way I'm going to get that ball to go farther is if maybe I get a couple yards because there's shaft, or if I go to the gym,
Mhm.
which I'm not 100% sure that's going to happen.
Right.
So I need to accept that reality, or I need to do something about it. So I think, understanding those numbers really helps you adjust appropriately for the conditions and how you feel that day.
Yeah, the art versus science. It's very. I look at somebody like Bryson DeChambeau, who I think is I don't know, 99% science, right?
Mhm.
Everything just, this is where it is. This is what I'm using. And then, you have somebody, I don't know if I pick somebody, I would think I kind of Bubba Watson's a little more art than science. I definitely could be wrong. It's just and they're both
It
very,
appears that way.
yeah, and it certainly appears that way. Bubba Watson's one's masters. I mean, they're both, we don't know yet. Bryson, he's a little bit younger, but my point is, uh, depending on who you are, you may use different ways, but essentially you have to know your distances and you have to adhere to it and follow your way.
And I think you need to be true to yourself too. I mean, I
Mm,
look at I struggle a little bit with my son. I mean, his personality is very different than mine. I was
right.
very type A. Okay, I'm going to do my drills, and this is what's going to happen. I plot my time, and I did it, and that was my way of success. He is still out there playing golf. He worked junior golf camp. We are now on the second 18 of the day, and yet to do his putting drill. Now, that drives me crazy. Okay, crazy. Maybe a combination of me and him would be really good. But he needs to be true to himself from a standpoint, at least, of being less in practice and more in play. Because if we tried to make him like me, or I tried to be like him, I don't think it would work.
Right.
Um,
Hmm.
I know it wouldn't work on his end. It may have helped me, but definitely not on his end because his patience and focus is not the same, and I think he would have not enjoyed the game. And it's
Hmm.
about enjoying the game
Which
for
is
sure.
important. Yeah, people forget. Don't forget to have fun. I get this often, from high handicappers at at clubs, and they're like, you got any tips for me? I always say, yeah, remember to have fun. I
Yeah.
don't really give tips. I'm not qualified, but I say just, don't forget that. You're still, you don't go home miserable after 18 hours. Please try, brings us to the next point where is discipline. I lost a lot of weight. I think I told you this, and people
Hmm.
ask me how, and I like there's some simple answer. Just like golf, you've got to work at it, you've got to practice, you got to play, you got to get instruction. I mean, do you consider yourself disciplined, Vicky?
Very,
Hmm.
very. I mean, I feel like I almost have to watch myself with other people because my expectations of what I would do in a situation may not match what they do.
Wow.
Whether it's my job at LPGA or my job in teaching or just family, like how I do different things. And I think, I've worked hard to make sure that, just because I do something doesn't mean that it's right. Okay.
Right.
And that everybody should do it. And so I really try to make sure that, when I'm especially talking to my students, like what do you think is an achievable goal? What do you
Hmm.
want? What can you accomplish this week to make that happen, kind of thing. But I think, I think discipline is very important, um, to at least some degree, you
Hmm.
know. Um, and for me, I feel like it makes me more secure.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like
Interesting.
I've done what I need to do, and the outcome will be the outcome. Because I truly, and I've said this to my son when I've talked to him about things. I may have, and maybe fail is not the right word, but failed and not done as well in tournaments or on tour as I wanted. But it was not from lack of effort.
Hmm.
And I can put my head on the pillow and say, I did everything that I could do, whether it was right or wrong. Clearly, I
Right.
made mistakes. Okay. But there was no point that I gave up or that I did not do everything that I thought was right to achieve my goal. And so that's kind of how I've always been, where, like just shoot for the stars, do the best you can, and don't be afraid to fall.
Hmm.
And, I try to teach him to be the same way, and everybody that I teach, my juniors, the same way. I mean, that makes you great. And what is great? And great doesn't have to be number one. It's the best that you can be.
That's right.
So, and to
Wonderful answer.
accomplish what you did, I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. That's determination, willpower, desire,
Hmm.
you know? I think that's so cool.
So, do you think that your position, as player president, requires your level or a certain level of discipline as well?
It is the way I do the job, but as I
Mm,
always say, I think each person, I mean, first of all, totally replaceable. Everybody's replaceable. I'm
mm,
not, I'm not the be all end all person. And you know what? There's gonna be somebody great that takes my position when the time comes and it's right. But for me to do the best job I can do, I believe I need to be disciplined,
hmm.
organized, um, and a great communicator.
What
So,
motivates you? I'm sorry.
oh, what motivates me?
Yeah, what motivates you, Vicky? I didn't mean to cut you off.
That's a tough one. I mean, I just, I think I have found, and I mean, obviously, my motivation originally was to do well and win and to be the best I could be. But
Mm,
I think my motivation now is more, I really enjoy helping people.
mm,
I really, I've had, as I always say, I've had my time. I mean, I'd like to play a few more tournaments, and if it happens, it happens. And I do have total desire if I do play those tournaments to win.
mm.
Absolutely, I'm not just going there for a joy walk, which might be why I never actually tee it up again. We'll see how that happens for me. But I really like helping people
Mhm.
and seeing them achieve their goals. It's time for me to give back and help other people do it. And I think that that's, like I left the camp today and we had a lot of new kids and my what makes me feel good is if I see one of those kids that's never played golf come out with their parents and grandparents and enjoy a round of golf. That to me is super cool because I had it and I think it's a great game and to be able to do something with your grandparents and share that and parents is awesome I mean most of them actually probably all of them might not get to the tour but that's okay that's not what the camp was about and I think, and I tell people we're not the diehard camp, but your kid's going to want to come to the golf course, and that's what we want it to be.
Yeah, you helping people is very evident. Even with your instruction with me, as difficult as it is for you, I could tell that even when I do strike the ball well every once in a while, your eyebrows raise. You feel that, that's what you want, and that feels great as the student. How
Yes.
do you measure success?
Gosh, in what part of my life? I guess. I
You
mean,
choose.
well, probably the part that I probably is closest to my heart is my son.
Mm,
And success is not necessarily how he plays on the golf course, but how he is as a person.
mm.
And I think the toughest job I've ever had is being a parent. Holy cow. Like every time I think I got it figured out, I'm like, oh, that didn't work out so well. Great kid, listen, I mean, but again, totally different than me. So kind of learning how to navigate all that. So I think as a parent, helping develop a strong individual that's self-sufficient and is going to improve the world, kind of in his own way. I'm not saying build a rocket ship or anything like that, but in his own way. I think from my two jobs and careers that I have, helping someone enjoy the game, get better, achieve their goals
Mm,
from an instructor standpoint. And I think as the player president, continuing to grow that tour so the next generation has it even better.
mm.
Um, and so if I do that and I help those processes, then that's success. I mean, I truly, and you know me, Joe, of this, but if I have a student struggling, I'll sit on my couch and I'll look at that video and go over. I'm like, did I miss something? What am I
Mm,
missing?
mm,
What I'll Google things. I'll look up things because at the end of the day, I mean, my job is to help them be better and
right.
reach their goals. So I guess that's how I evaluate my success.
Yeah, and your son Jake is a wonderful young man. Everybody at the club loves him. He's a great golfer too, and it's a great achievement, and I wish him continued success. I mean, It's really, I have 2 girls, and I brought, they went to the golf camps, and they liked it, but then kind of grew out of it, which is
Mhm.
fine, which is
Mhm.
fine. It's
Mhm.
not for them, but it must be nice to have a son that you could play with, and that's something I don't have. But it's he's a everybody says nice things about. Oh, there's Jake. Oh, that's Vicky's son. Oh, yeah, yeah, he's a good player, and great young man. I mean, it's nice feather in your cap, and
Well, thank you. I
yeah.
appreciate it. I mean, I dragged my husband and son out. This is a few years ago, and we walked 9 holes. And I said, at the time, you never know if that's going to be the last 9 holes you walk for whatever reason. I said that I'm complete. I go, this is great. I said because
Mm,
I had that opportunity to do that with my family,
mm,
and that brought back memories. Whereas my husband, he's like, why did we not take a cart? So but I was like, this is what I needed to do. This is and it was great. And Jake, he's developing and trying to find his own ways in life, and we're just there to help provide opportunities and a little bit of guidance. So
mm. I love walking the course. I can't carry anymore. I hurt a shoulder, but I push a cart. But I just walking is just so much. It's just soak everything in, get a little exercise. Buckhorn's a great walking course as well.
it is a great walking course. Holes are
Yeah,
close together, very nice.
yeah,
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 it's
yeah.
it's an easy walk,
Yes,
except
it's
going
easy.
up hole two.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I'm here in New Haven for the summer, and the elevations here are quite, different than what you have
Hmm.
there in Tampa.
Hmm.
But walking makes the world of difference for me anyway. I play better when I walk, by the way.
I think
I
most people would, to be honest with
yeah.
you. I mean, besides the physical element of it, I mean, I definitely think you see and feel the golf course.
Yes.
And I think there's also the peacefulness of having time to think about the shot, look
Mm,
at the scenery, look at what's around you. The wildlife that's out there is pretty fun. And I mean, this lady was here the other day, and there was nobody showed up in her group, and she's like, I'm not gonna play by myself. I go, absolutely, you should play by yourself. I go, I mean, like, I actually really enjoy playing by
I do.
myself. It's the most peaceful
Yeah.
time. Not that I don't love playing with other people too, but
Sure.
I think it's just a great opportunity to just absorb nature, because we are in such a go 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 world. It's
Absolutely.
just it's kind of it's fun.
Yeah, you walk up to your second shot, and as I'm walking up, I'm starting to visualize the shape of my next shot, and
Yep.
I'm coming, it's just, I'm going to draw this one, I'm going to put it to that, and it's just with a cart, you're kind of zipping along and then walking across. I don't know. It's some people
I
need
think it's hard
carts,
to get a
obviously.
rhythm. I
Yeah,
mean, and listen, each to their own, and I do
yeah,
think with the heat right now, it's smoking
right.
hot and it's really
Mm,
difficult and all that stuff. But I mean, definitely when I was more fit and everything else, I think the walk is it does make the golf game more enjoyable for me, and I can play better that way.
mm,
But I tend to get in the cart, which is totally fine too.
absolutely.
Each to their own on that. But yeah, you do see some things and feel some things differently each way.
Vicki Goetze-Ackerman, thank you so much for your time today. Absolute pleasure. I've been
Thank you.
excited since you accepted this. I couldn't wait to talk to you. And I really enjoyed the conversation. I hope anybody that's listening does it as well. Thank you so much for your time. I look forward. I'll be back there in October, and I look forward to seeing you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. And I look forward to seeing your swing when you come back in October. Maybe we got to get out on the course. I mean, if you actually got me on the golf course, that would mean that you'd be one of the first people, Buckhorn, that got me on the golf course to play
Really?
18 holes. I
Okay.
never play. I mean, like, just don't do it. But I need to set some Vicky time. I need to get out
Mm,
there, and I'm gonna try. So maybe you
mm.
can help influence me in the right direction, Joe.
Good to know. Good to know. I will note that and make efforts to do so. Vicky, thank you again, and I look forward to seeing you
Awesome.
again. You be well.
Thank you so much. Take care. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening and or viewing Joey Pin's Discipline Conversations. Please share this episode with one or two of your friends who you think may benefit from the episode. Our website, www.joeypins.com. There you'll find lots of resources and you could join our mailing list. Please follow us on all our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Podcast information, the video version of our podcast is on YouTube. Please subscribe. Audio is on all major podcasting platforms. videos. Please follow them. And if you like it, please consider giving 5-star rating. Would really appreciate that. Would you like to financially support the podcast? You can go to our Patreon site. Consider $5, $10, or $20 a month. There's all kind of plans that we have there. It's like a one-time payment. What is this podcast episode worth to you? $25, $50, $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000. You be the judge. You can go to our PayPal account to do that as well. Thank you again for listening or watching Joey Pinz Discipline Conversations.